Well, I think it's just about time. What do you think, Jordan?
I think it's perfect, Sean. Let's rock it, brother.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm going to hog the mic here for the moment. And Ruth, thank you for checking in. Appreciate it. Welcome everyone to the broadcast. Thank you so much for checking in from across the country. I know we actually have people on the East Coast still checking in to our Central Time Zone presentation. But wherever you are this evening and checking in, and wherever you are in the process, I assume many of you just got in viewing the presentation for the very first time here this evening. And it's an exciting time. I can think back to when I first took a look at this presentation, and it's very odd to think 10 years ago now, almost 10 years. It'll be my 10-year anniversary in November, so coming up very quick. And it's incredible for me to think about how much Ambit has changed over the years. I mean, when we first started, when I took a look at this opportunity back in 2006, I guess it was, we just had one state. It was just Texas. We're in 15 states now. We're looking at international expansion. We've got a lot of exciting things ahead of us. We didn't have free energy then. We have free energy now. It's kind of our signature program. That might be why many of you were attracted to this opportunity in the first place. So, the bottom line is so much has changed and gotten better over the years here with Ambit. And it's, my honor to get things kick-started here this evening, tell you just a little bit about myself, but primarily introduce our featured speaker here for the evening. As I mentioned, my story started 10 years ago, and where I was in life at that point was just a very different place. I was actually, probably at the darkest part of my life, financially speaking, to the point where I just, I kind of thought that, the reason I wasn't succeeding in all of the different things that I tried, I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur, was that, I got to thinking it was just me, that because it seemed like everybody else was doing well. Everybody else was succeeding in all these opportunities, but I wasn't. And so I thought to myself, I think I'm done with this chasing the dream idea. And I literally had mentally checked out. And that was the moment in time where my good friend Steve was becoming very, very persistent to make sure that I had the opportunity to see the presentation that you just finished seeing, or something similar to it. Much more basic, as I say, because we've added a lot of neat things over the years. But, I'm so incredibly thankful that he went out of his way to be very persistent, because I ignored him for quite some time. And maybe many of you are here for the first time this evening watching the presentation for the very first time because someone was persistent, that you got the chance to see what's taking place here. And I certainly hope that you are as thankful to them as I am to Steve, because of how it's changed my life. I look back where I was then, having recently had my vehicle taken from me involuntarily, to where I am now in a position of complete and total freedom. I was in a position then when, I wasn't married at the time, and I laugh about it a little bit, but even if I met the woman of my dreams, there's nothing I could have done about it, because I was dead broke. And it's just a bad place to be mentally. And, now to having, married the woman of my dreams, we've got 3 beautiful kids, and we can enjoy our life with those kids and see them grow up. As Vanessa mentioned earlier, it's one of their goals with this business. And I can attest to the freedom that Ambit provides is incredible from a family time perspective, and just, enjoying the journey perspective versus just getting through the journey. And so I'm so incredibly thankful for this opportunity. And again, wherever you are, if this is your first time or maybe second or third time seeing the opportunity, I just want you to know that this is real. And that might be the very most important thing you hear this evening. This is real. I've experienced this business for the past 10 years. And it's my incredible honor to introduce the individual that's going to close it out for us here this evening. A guy that we were talking a little bit earlier and joking a little bit about. I remember seeing him present for the very first time about 8 years ago in Austin. And I don't want to give away too much of his story, but it's incredible what this business can do for you in really what's an incredibly short period of time relative to, how long most people spend in their careers over the course of their lifetime. And today he's one of the very top leaders of our company. If you were down in Dallas, you might have seen him take home one of the big awards, the Pure Energy Award. And there is nobody in this business that epitomizes pure energy more than this individual. He's a good friend. He's he's mentioned in the past how I've been a mentor to him, but I can tell you that role is just as much mutual today as he may or may not think it is. So he's a guy that gives as much as he takes, and I'm incredibly honored to have him with us here this evening and to hand it over to him to close it out. So Jordan, go ahead and take it away, my friend.
Hey, thanks a lot, Sean. Well, man, I really appreciate you having me on this evening. I'm super fired up to be here. And like Sean said, he for a long time has been a mentor of mine. So I am very grateful to be on the line with him and rocking and rolling on this presentation. So I get to close it out, and I get to tell you a little bit about my personal story, what's happened to me, and get to give you a few bullet points on why Ambit works really significantly better than many of the opportunities that are out there. So to get started, I do want to thank our in-home presentation. I'm going to flash back into them real quick, just show their pretty faces. Hey guys, I really appreciate you guys being here with us. Woo! So guys, there are literally thousands of in-home presentations like that happening on a weekly basis all across Ambit land. And the reason that we're doing these presentations is it is incredible to have an executive consultant to be able to come into your living room and give a presentation, or it is incredible to be able to have Sean Cornett come into your living room with $1 million jacket on and talk about how this business works. But in reality, we're spread all across the country and we're everywhere, right? So now we've started these live broadcasts that we're going to do once a week, making sure that a powerful speaker is going to come into your living room to help you close out your presentation. So just know there's more of this coming, and we're really excited about the future going forward. So my name is Jordan Buckingham. I'm an executive consultant with Ambit Energy, and I am super fired up to be wearing a ball cap and an Ambit Energy shirt at my house to give this presentation tonight, because a lot of times, guys, if we're in a big hotel meeting or we're in a larger group presentation, we're all dressed up in a suit and tie and a coat. But the reality of the situation is most people that are out there seeing the business, 95 out of 100 people that see this business are going to see it just like this in someone's living room, at their kitchen table, grabbing a cup of coffee at Starbucks. So this really illustrates the power of what we've got going on here. When I first got started in Ambit Energy, I was serving tables at Joe's Crab Shack. I brought people their food. I really didn't have any influence with anybody in my life. At the time, I was getting a petroleum engineering degree from the University of Texas at Austin, and I was working really hard just trying to survive, basically feed myself serving tables as I was, being a struggling college student. My dad called me one day and said, "Son, I found something that's going to make us a lot of money." So he made a lot of money in his life, and I listened to him. And when I first got involved, I saw this as a great way to make a couple extra $100 a month. I mean, if I could replace one or two of my serving shifts, then that would certainly help me get a leg up on my engineering studies, which certainly weren't easy with differential equations and calculus and all this stuff that I had to do. So originally, it was just an opportunity to make a couple extra $100. So while I was still in college, I promoted to the regional position, then on to senior, which you saw in the 15-minute video. I graduated as a petroleum engineer, but also $75,000 in student debt. And I know some of you guys are out there thinking, "Amen, brother, I got some of that too." Yeah, don't worry about it. There's an opportunity that's going to help you get out of it. But at the time, I wasn't there yet. So I looked up and I saw that student debt just looming over me, guys. And to tell you the truth, it felt like a 100-pound bag of rice on my shoulder just every day I woke up having that amount of debt coming out of college. So I got busy with my Ambit Energy business because I decided I didn't want to live with that debt my whole life. So I started to supplement my bills with my part-time Ambit income. And guys, I was able to buy my first home, beautiful home here in San Angelo, Texas, and the first mortgage that I ever paid in my life, and all the expenses associated with my brand new home, I paid with the part-time money that I made in Ambit Energy that month. Fast forward 24 months, I completely annihilated that $75,000 in student debt. And then I started looking at my bills, and I started looking at my Ambit income, and I was like, oh my gosh, this could be a freedom vehicle for me if I would treat it more seriously. At the time, I was working 60 hours a week as a petroleum engineer, doing Ambit just 5 or 10 hours a week. And guys, that was a challenge because my schedule was really erratic. They were sending me to drilling rig here, drilling rig there, and I really didn't have a whole lot of time to myself. And honestly, I didn't know what my schedule was going to be like week in and week out. But I made some sacrifices. I was working 5 or 10 hours a week on my Ambit business, and I upped my game a little bit. I started working at 10 or 15 hours a week, started doing in-home presentations like the one you're at now, and started doing other presentations and showing the plan more and more and more. And ultimately, on 10 or 15 hours a week of part-time work, I hit the executive position where I am now. And I hold my hand up because they give you a cool ring. Look at that, woo! For being an executive consultant, it's pretty awesome. But guys, when I hit that position, my weekly paychecks, not including the residual income that you saw in the video, but my weekly paychecks were exceeding my mortgage. I looked up, I had more money coming in from Ambit than I had going out in my bills, and I was financially free. So at the ripe old age of 28, I signed the resignation letter on a strong 6-figure income as a petroleum engineer to follow my dreams, pursue my bliss and my passion in life, building my Ambit Energy business full time. And guys, now I'm so glad I did, because I get to travel the world with my beautiful fiance, Vanessa Meyer, that you heard from earlier at the in-home presentation. We have an incredible life getting to wake up and basically ask ourselves, rather than, what time do I need to be at work today? We get to ask ourselves, what do we want to do today? Okay. And to be in your 20s and be able to have that kind of life is truly incredible. But the main reason for that is I have a passive residual income stream from this business in my 20s that pays all of my fixed expenses in my life. My weekly checks often exceed my monthly bills, and I am financially free. So I don't care if you're 20 years old, 25 years old, 30 years old, 40, 50, 60, or even 70 years old. This business can provide financial freedom. And one more piece to that is my dad is actually my personal sponsor in the business, which is really gratifying for me, because the business that I've built, along with some other stuff that he has going on in his organization, now produces a monthly residual check from my father, who's 68 years old, that far exceeds what his Social Security is bringing him and my mom combined after working for 40 years. So it's just incredible to me that in a few short years, just a couple of years, my parents have been able to count on a residual income payment from Ambit Energy that exceeds both their Social Security payments combined, and have greatly enhanced their retirement. In fact, guys, Ambit Energy is one of the biggest pieces of their financial portfolio now, because they got involved on a part-time basis and started building the business. So now I want to close this out sharing with you a few points and a few keys on why Ambit Energy works versus some of the other things that are out there. So number one, Ambit Energy is a service, not a product. Okay, so I made some note cards because I thought this was cool, and I got the Ambit orange there. I see Sean Cornett laughing, but guys, it's a service, not a product. You don't have to go convince anybody that electricity and natural gas are a good idea. Everybody is already straight up addicted to it. In fact, I got an idea for you. Go out there tonight, call your friends and family, and say, hey, for the next 3 days, you can either have food or you can have electricity. And see what their response is. And guys, the funny thing, number one, is people are actually going to think about it. Okay, they're going to be like, do I want food or do I want electricity? Because I got to keep my iPhone running, I got to keep my iPad running, I got to keep my computer running. I can't run my business without electricity. I could probably go a couple days without eating, but I don't know if I could go a couple days without electricity. And that's how addicted we are to this service that is unconsciously purchased and habitually used by you, everyone you know, and everyone you don't know. So it's absolutely incredible that we can not only save people money on something that they have to have, but ultimately we can help them get it for free. So that's incredible on the service side. Number two, we've got the power of part-time, okay? Like I said, I started this business when I was in college. I worked for a couple years in the corporate world until I realized that was absolute shenanigans. It's just crazy working 60, 70 hours a week and burning and churning it and still having more month at the end of the money than you have money at the end of the month, So, whenever I was in that situation, working 60 or 80 hours a week, it was the leverage of Ambit Energy and the residual income that allowed me to bust out of that mold and become financially free. And the reason that was possible is because of how lucrative our compensation plan is. I mean, it's absolutely unequivocally out of control how much this money will pay, or how much this company will pay you for doing something pretty simple, guys. Whenever I got my hands on my dad's electricity bill, whenever I first got started in this business down here in Texas, I was able to save him a tremendous amount of money. He went on to get free energy, and now Ambit has given me and my family thousands of dollars in basically in free energy payments alone, on top of hundreds of thousands of dollars that they've sent us in commissions. So it just literally blows my mind that you can have this much fun using a leveraged model to create residual income and get paid that kind of money. So I'm gonna move on to the next point. But guys, I gotta tell you, it really is mind-blowing to me what we have our hands on here. I know I'm a little high energy and I'm gonna maybe blow into your living room and you might need to turn down your speakers, but I just can't hide how exciting this is for all of us that are involved. So finally, step 4, not quite finally, but step 4, the timing. Guys, let's talk a little bit about Ambit, where it's been in the past, where it is right now, and where it's going in the future, okay? When Ambit got started, we were just in the Texas market. We only had one state, and that was in 2006. In 2007, they moved into the 5 boroughs around New York City. In 2008, we got a little piece of Illinois. But guys, it effectively took through 2010 to just partially deploy into Texas, New York, and Illinois. So the first 4 years of expansion just got us into 3 state territories. Now, over the last 6 years, they've exploded into over a dozen more states, okay? The conglomerate Northeast from Maine down to Virginia. Central United States with Indiana, Ohio, and all of Illinois coming online. Guys, we've got California out on the western side, and we've got as much of Texas as we can get. Guys, it's totally out of control if you look where we are timing. But the other part is, not only do we have access to all the states that we have now, but there are more states coming in the future. Nevada right now is voting on deregulation in Nevada. If that comes online, Arizona is a strong possibility, and then California electricity could be coming online after that. So finally, I want to talk in terms of timing. The first 10 years of this company were basically focused on just state expansion inside of the continental US. But now it actually looks like Ambit's going to be expanding internationally over the next 10 years. So as the first 10 years were state by state by state expansion, now Ambit's going to be aggressively pursuing international markets the same way, as long as it's a profitable and a stable place to grow their business. And that's quite a potential here over the next 10 years. So finally, why will all of this work for you? I mean, we've talked about how it's a service, not a product. We've talked about the power of part-time. We've talked about the lucrative compensation plan that we've got available. We've talked about how the timing is absolutely magnificent with you coming into a market space that has a massive amount of potential customers and a massive amount of potential revenue, with 16 states online rather than just one state whenever Sean came online. But now I want to talk about our last piece, which is our streamlined duplicatable system, okay? We have a system inside of this company that will absolutely allow you to leverage your time, energy, and effort to build a solid part-time income that could grow into a full-time income over time. And the way that works is pretty simple, guys. But if you think about it, people don't pay $1 million for a McDonald's franchise so that they can learn how burgers are made, just like Rigo says in the video. They pay $1 or $1.5 million for a McDonald's franchise because of the system that they have in place, and that they know they can duplicate a profitability in a central location. The exact same thing is possible here for you in your Ambit Energy business. The ability to take a franchise-like opportunity and duplicate your efforts across tens, hundreds, or even thousands of people that are out there gathering electricity and natural gas customers for this company, something unconsciously purchased and habitually used every day by everyone you know, and even yourself, giving you the opportunity to save them money or potentially even help them get it for free. So guys, obviously we are fired up about this opportunity. I'm super fired up about the 5 points that I just shared with you, with it being a service, not a product, the power of part-time, the lucrative compensation plan we have attached, the timing being where it is, and now finally our proven system that will allow you to get involved and get moving. And right now I just want to give you a call to action, very briefly. Ambit Energy started in 2006, and throughout the years, as you've seen in the video, we've been the mention of incredible accolades, being Inc. 500's fastest growing privately held company in the nation, hitting $1 billion in annual revenue in less than 7 years. Now think about this. Think about the number of companies that have ever hit $1 billion in annual revenue without merger and acquisition anyway, all right? You're talking about Microsoft, Apple, talking about Dell Computers, you're talking about Google, you're talking about Facebook. And only a handful of these companies have even reached that $1 billion mark in under 10 years. So you can put Ambit Energy in a group of companies that has achieved more than any other company in the history of American business inside of what they do. I mean, we are a big deal, like Ron Burgundy says in Anchorman, okay? So this is so exciting and so fun for all of us involved. I know it's going to be fun and exciting for all of you involved, but what I can tell you is Ambit, as we grew to that $1 billion in annual revenue, now sitting at $1.4 billion in annual revenue, Ambit Energy paid out hundreds of millions of dollars to the people involved in that growth. Hundreds of millions of dollars. The co-founders have now publicly stated that this company could double in revenue and increase upwards of multi-billion dollars in revenue over the next few years with the expansions that they have planned and the systems that they have planned, which is why they just put $20 million into the IT department to gear up an infrastructure for what we're about to do. So the question that you got to ask yourself is, if Ambit Energy has already paid out hundreds of millions of dollars as we went to over $1 billion in revenue, and they're talking about doubling in revenue, potentially tripling over the next few years, paying out literally or getting to market penetrations where we have billions, plural, of annual revenue, understanding, projecting the income that was generated in the payouts that were generated in the beginning over that growth, guys, Ambit's going to pay out hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars to the people involved. So the last thing that I would say to you is, bam, become a consultant with Ambit Energy. It's $75 plus the suite of websites is $25. It is almost a joke at $101.60 to start your Ambit business, your franchise-like opportunity business. Plug into our streamlined duplicatable system and start building your team so that some of those hundreds of millions of dollars that are going to be paid out will come to you and your family. So guys, thanks again. My name is Jordan Buckingham. I'm the executive consultant with Ambit Energy. I'm super grateful you were on the line with me, and I'm going to turn it back to Sean so he can tell you about our next guest that we've got coming up over the next few weeks.
Whoop, okay, I think I'm unmuted now. Can everybody hear me okay?
I do. Great, Sean.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much. An incredible wrap up to the evening here for many of you. And as I was sitting here thinking, between the first broadcast for the Eastern time zone and this current broadcast, we were broadcasting live to well over 100 locations. And this is just our very first one. And thinking about the leverage that this gives you as a tool to build your business is pretty incredible. Every single person, if you're taking a look at this presentation for the first time tonight, this very same time next week, you can be hosting your own meeting and building your own business right out of the gate. And you know that every single week you've got this exact same tool to plug into where we'll have a new set of top leaders from across the company here live to close out your meeting. And so, Jordan talks about the duplicatable system. You're a part of it right now. You're a part of it. What's brought you to this point in time, and now in watching this presentation, realize that it's just a matter of sharing that exact same process with the people so that you can give this opportunity or make it at least available to everybody . So same time, same place next week. You can get plugged into the details a couple of ways. Obviously, you're here now, so you got an email from us here as part of the Energy Gold Rush system that I certainly would recommend. That's what we use for the presentation, the 15-minute presentation you saw earlier before the live broadcast. You can get plugged into that at EnergyGoldRush.com. Once you're a member there, you'll get all of our updates and obviously access to the app and the tools and everything that we have. But I do want to share next week our speaker lineup, actually the speaker lineup for the next 2 weeks. I had this confused on the first broadcast, but next week we've got Sherelle Slace from Chicago, executive consultant, rock star in the Chicagoland market, building it all over the Midwest and Indiana and Ohio as well. So we're super excited to have Sherelle Slace. And we also, alongside Sherelle, we've got Bob Granger, executive consultant from, well, I know it's New York. I couldn't tell you exactly where in New York. He's upstate somewhere. But Bob Granger is one of our very top money earners. He was actually he just missed being a top 50 money earner with the company this year. So he's right around that top 50 mark in the company as far as income. And he's been a top producer for many, many years and extremely experienced in the energy industry outside of Ambit as well, because that was his business coming into Ambit. So both of these individuals are going to have an incredible lineup to share with your guests and your groups next week at the same time. So get plugged in. We'll send out the details as soon as we have it together. And again, every week it's going to be a live YouTube video. So thanks so much for joining and have a great week, guys.